kick it off right now. Stephen A. Smith, LeBron James feud escalates with Kobe Bryant lies in bizarre boxing video. So, back in like 2012, 2013, up until like 2014, 2015, I was a daily viewer of the First Take show with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp, with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. Every morning, I was able to watch this show. The problem is, during that time, Skip Bayless, he did something that a lot of sports shows didn't do, where he brought, as you all know, the debate barbershop talk to television, where it was no longer about debating the facts or the stats. It was about debating your opinion and a feeling. And anytime you start talking about things like heart and drive and stuff, you're debating things that's not analytical. You can't describe that. You can't quantify that. It's the same reason why I don't debate sports no more. I don't debate people like Kobe fans and stuff. Like, it's just, well, what are we debating at this point? But anyway, so at that point, there was always this good guy, bad guy, or good cop, bad cop situation, or constant desire to debate opposing views on a sports show. That's how you make it interesting. We have to disagree in order for it to be good. So at that point, you had Skip Bayless, who was the quote-unquote LeBron hater, and Stephen A. Smith, who kind of stuck up for LeBron in these debates. Skip Bayless leaves, and I think Skip Bayless was the worst thing that ever happened to sports talk shows. And then Stephen A. Smith had a turn around 2015, 2016. First, it was the Kyrie Irving getting traded from Cleveland to Boston. He insinuated some things about the relationship between Kyrie and LeBron. Clearly was saying that he had a relationship with Kyrie, at least, getting information. He started saying certain things then about LeBron. Time goes on. He sends shots here and there, and he constantly brings up his opinion on the LeBron Michael Jordan debate. All this stuff happens, yada, yada, yada. And now we're at a point where he's being honest about his true feelings this whole time. I personally believe that Stephen A. Smith has no relationships with any of the stars in the NBA. Kevin Durant called him out before and said that he's lying about his stories. He don't know nobody in his camp. Kyrie has obviously had a falling out with him over the COVID vaccine situation. He probably hasn't had a relationship with LeBron in a decade plus. And I believe personally, this is my personal opinion, that Stephen A. Smith's real gripe with LeBron is that he never went to him to make any big decision. Every time Stephen A. Smith speaks on LeBron, he brings up the decision and how he went to a reporter and didn't come to him. He don't give him interviews. I'm not saying that's the only reason, because you can have your opinion and not like someone and not be for selfish reasons. But I personally believe that Stephen A. Smith's biggest gripe with LeBron is that he didn't give him the look. Stephen A. Smith views him as the big dog of sports media. In my field, I'm you. I'm equal to you. I'm as important as you are to the NBA. I am that to sports media. How dare you not sit down with me? So let me just show this. Hold on. One thing. Sorry about that.
Standard size rugs just don't work for most spaces.
All right. Regina says Skip Bayless hater rating for Jew, the real Goyim. Yeah, Skip Bayless, he brought this to a thing, and it's destroyed sports debate shows because it's turned into, like I said, this emotional back and forth that goes nowhere, and to the point where now you watch any debate show, you kind of can see the lines being drawn in the midst of the commentators, where you kind of know what everybody's going to say. You kind of know everybody's opinion. The podcasts are way more entertaining than the talk shows. I would much rather watch Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett's podcast talk about sports than I would Stephen A. Smith. And keep in mind, Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett went to war battles with LeBron, and they give a much more fair critique or praise of LeBron because it's basketball. They're not trying to talk about off the court stuff. They're not trying to give their personal opinions on him, even though it's a podcast, so they sometimes talk about what happened. But I would rather watch Gil's Arena. I would rather watch Jeff T 520 podcast. The debate shows are kind of pointless at this point. What up, Honorable? How you doing? But so the Stephen A. Smith LeBron feud thing, I think, started with not getting the interview. Not saying he need a LeBron interview, because once again, he just signed a $100 million deal without it. But I do think he feels like new media, quote unquote, all those podcasts I just named, are a threat to daily talk shows, sports talk shows. Which is why when LeBron started his podcast, it became a topic on their show. Where they were getting angry at LeBron pointed out and JJ Redick saying, hey man, nobody talks sport. No, they don't talk basketball anymore. They don't talk real basketball anymore. And they went on their talk show saying, hey, people don't want to hear that. They want to hear drama. They want to hear storylines. It's like, no, the best commentators were able to mix the two. The color commentators, were able to turn real basketball talks into entertaining talks. Y'all don't do that. Y'all just constantly talk about drama and storylines and narratives. But anyway, I want to show this here. What the hell is this? Hold on. Let me do this. It all started, or at least this final blow up started, when Stephen A. Smith said to LeBron after his son was drafted to the Lakers. It was one night, like a month ago or so, maybe a little over a month, where Bronny James came into the game, and I think he had went 0 for 4 or something. I can't remember. And the next day, Stephen just went on his show and said, LeBron, as a father, I'm begging you to stop this. A month later, LeBron sees him at a sporting event, at a basketball game. He challenged him, said, keep my son out of this, yada, yada, yada. Stephen A. Smith got checked in public, and you can clearly tell his ego was affected by that. And then he went on a podcast tour claiming he was just trying to keep it cool because he just signed a deal or whatever. And for no reason at all, now he's saying that if LeBron would have touched him, he would have swung on him. Maybe this is just the entertainer in him. So it's moved past anything talking about sports or basketball. And then he said he flat out said in his response finally to LeBron going on the Pat McAfee show. I think that's how you say his last name. He went on the dude's show, the former NFL player punter show, and he pretty much let it go. He finally let it all go. He gave his opinion on a lot of the commentators on ESPN, specifically Stephen A. Wittenhorst, and I think Perkins. He has not responded really to any of these people publicly in 20 years. He finally gave them direct responses, and now we have people like Charles Barkley calling him a bully. Virginia says, speaking of Stephen A. Smith's ego, do you think underneath the fact he missed his opportunity to go pro has something to do with all of this? Well, that's been a thing on him forever. For a while, he constantly brought up the fact that he's allowed to talk basketball because at one point he was pretty good at it. He never said he was good enough to go pro, but he would say, I played college ball and I cracked my kneecap. That's why I ended my career. But then Jason Whitlock, regardless of what you think of Jason Whitlock, he is a journalist. And one thing about a journalist, they investigate things. They actually go back and read things. They know how to have discernment on certain things. And so he went back to Stephen A. Smith's book. He went back to his high school and looked up his stats. And he said it didn't make sense. That he basically said Stephen A. Smith's entire creation was a lie. That he never was a writer. He never was a journalist. That he was created by ESPN to be somebody they can use as pretty much a bulldog. He was created by ESPN. Then said, sounds like the scene of the Martin where the women were kicking their butts, faking in. Yeah. But yeah, Stephen A. Smith's, to me, because this don't have to be the longest segment. This is Stephen A. Smith's awareness that, quote unquote, new media sports is a threat to what he do. And I believe the ultimate reason that Stephen A. Smith is doing this is because he knows if you go at the most popular person in the sport, really in American sports, then it's going to bring more profile to you. But he also knows that LeBron James has a lot of people in politics that dislike him. A lot of fans dislike him in his politics. And this comes back to Stephen A. Smith's possible desire to run for office. I don't know. I'm not saying this is real, but LeBron has, because of his political push he's made in years past, he has a lot of people that dislike him. So coming against LeBron, and Stephen A. Smith is known for going on, Fox News and stuff. I'm not saying he's right wing, but he's told black people before, I think we should vote GOP. That doesn't mean you're just a Republican. He just was giving his opinion there, but it does kind of goes with the notion that possibly he knows that doing this gets him in favor with a particular demographic. And it's not to say that Stephen A. Smith didn't say things that's correct about LeBron. I just think he took something that could have been just sports and made it personal because he disliked a person. Same thing he did with Kyrie Irving. When Kyrie Irving decided he did want to take the vaccine, and then the state of New York decided to create a rule just for him to not be able to play, and Stephen A. Smith got on TV and was raising hell over Kyrie, calling him all type of selfish and stuff, it turned into a dislike because he made it personal. And he did the same thing with LeBron, even with the vaccine. Remember when the vaccines first got rolled out, and for a few months, LeBron didn't say anything about the vaccine, whether he took it or not. And Stephen A. Smith went on national television and said that LeBron is putting his community in danger for not speaking out and telling people to take the vaccine. That is his duty as a quote unquote leader in the black community, which is a shame because he's an NBA player. He should not be looked at as a leader. But he said it was his duty to say something. If he didn't say something, that he was going to be the reason for many deaths and lives being lost. So he's been, to me, ESPN and Disney's bullhorn for the longest. They tell him to attack, he does it. I'm saying, just listen to someone else's subject. This is the way we gain the MAGA crowd. Yes, that's what I believe. And I got that because I already been talking about the possible him running for office, but there was an article that someone wrote when they talked about the insecurities of both people. And it was a white woman that wrote the article in a very nonchalant way. She just pretty much said she believed for a fact that Stephen A. Smith is doing this to please the right wing, to gain their favor in a possible political run in the future. So I'm not saying it's true, but amongst people who are writers and somewhat in the sports industry and even politics, it seems to be a real thing that they believe he's going to try to run for office. So it is what it is. And I always say, when you see an article like that written about somebody possibly running for office, normally it's PR to just see how, just, put the bait out there to see if people latch onto it. The same thing happened with The Rock a few years ago. So nobody just randomly brought up The Rock to run for office. His people put out a little filler to see how people would feel about it, and it is what it is. This to me is going to lead to the same way it's been a hyper focus on LeBron and the Bronny situation. With Stephen A. Smith doing this, because now the question has become, because this all started, like I said, because his comments on Bronny, and then there was a question asked about the new face of the NBA. And we brought this up plenty of times, that the reason why the NBA is finding trouble finding somebody to quote unquote be the face of the NBA is because for the past 5-6 years, they've been constantly pushing the foreigner NBA player, whether it's the European or now with Giannis, who's Nigerian, but he's from Greece, I think. They've been constantly pushing the foreigner at the forefront, and it's not latching on. Americans, who would have thought? Americans don't. I'm not talking about black Americans. Americans don't want to root for a person who's not American. So no matter how many MVPs you give these foreign players, no matter how much you promote them as the best in this and rank them in the top this, it's not going to make American fans cheer for them harder. It's just not happening. That's part of the reason why I believe Luka Doncic was traded to the Lakers, because they're hoping that being next to LeBron will raise Luka's. I'm not saying he's not popular in America, but Luka Doncic jersey numbers and stuff, I don't think is that much higher than Ja Morant. Let alone the guy from Timberwolves. Good Lord, I just forgot his name. Hold on, y'all. Honorable says, run for what? He's going to need more than MAGA to run for office. I don't think that's the goal. I don't know if it's a presidential run, but maybe you're right. Maybe he's not trying to run for office. Maybe he's just trying to make more inroads into political commentary. Because on his own podcast, he talks politics a fair bit. So maybe it's just trying to grow his political audience. Because right now he's just known for sports. So maybe he's just trying to grow his political audience. Maybe he's not trying to run for office. Regina said that would be crazy work if the foreigner in the Euro become the face of the NBA. Caitlin Clark hype anyone. She's a good player. Well, Caitlin Clark is American. So yeah, you're right. There's no foreign player going to get that type of, I can't think, the closer you'll get to a foreign player being recognized as like the most popular player in the sport, you might be able to get that in baseball, maybe. Football, no, obviously no. But yeah, they've been constantly trying to sell non-Americans to America, and it's just not working. So now you got players like, hold on, y'all. Anthony. I don't know how I want it. And then LeBron came out and said, I don't blame him. Being the face of the league, all they do is kick you back in. They don't talk basketball. They don't talk sports. And that's led to Stephen A. Smith going on this whole run saying that, you know, it's soft for you to respond to any criticism. Well, now they're showing videos now, and that's the thing about the internet. You got these LeBron stands and all these other basketball fans going and find video of Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley and all these players from the 80s and 90s saying the very same thing that LeBron and all these other players are saying, which is y'all need to focus on sports. Y'all always talking narratives. Stick to the facts. Don't worry about all these other stuff. Stop trying to create a narrative to get your ratings up. But you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I'll go with honorable and say he may not be running for office, but he's definitely trying to grow his political audience, and he's trying to grow it through, because I feel like he already believes he has the liberal audience. It's not very hard to attain that audience, but if he could just try to play the middle and just be a moderate, it may benefit not just his own privately owned podcast and network. It may actually benefit his show on ESPN, because that's even bigger point. ESPN has lost a lot of viewership because they started pushing more liberal ideologies. You'll know they got rid of a lot of people, Jamel Hill, and they got rid of a lot of people during the last Trump administration and even during the Biden one. So maybe they're trying to use Stephen A. Smith to bring that audience back to ESPN. Maybe that's what it is. Honorable says Stephen has resorted to exploiting his ghetto nephew for views. It's more so driven by his position in the entertainment industry and better TV deals. Maybe so. That final point I made, I think I'll go with that now. ESPN lost a lot of the right-wing viewership, which is that middle-aged Caucasian, middle American male. It was a big drop in the viewership from them. So maybe with Stephen A. Smith doing the things he's doing and associating himself with certain politics is an attempt to bring those people back to say, hey, we're in the middle. We share some of these views as well. But I don't know. We shall see, because this ain't stopping no time soon. Arnold says that Jamel is the worst example. I hate her with a passion. She is a female. Well, that's the point. Jamel Hill, biggest moment of her career now came when Donald Trump responded to her. And obviously it wasn't very nice. So yeah, I think they trying to get that audience back.